8 messages your brain's trying to give you by sending pain. What is my brain trying to tell me by sending pain? This is a really common question that I get. One of the most common. And as we know, pain is always a sign of something. You know, Dr. Schubiner talks about this a lot. It's always a sign of something. Now with chronic pain, we start to misinterpret it. We take it to mean physical damage, to mean structural damage or disease in the body. But as we know, a significant portion of chronic pain is neuroplastic. And so it's not because of physical damage that it's being produced, it's because the brain feels an emotional danger. Remember, pain's a danger signal, and we need to start interpreting that it means emotional danger. And so in this video, we're really talking about, 8 messages your brain may be trying to give you by sending that danger signal of pain. And you're not going to figure this out right away, but we need to start to, observe our pain and start to figure out, what is our brain trying to tell us? Me putting pressure on myself, I figured out early on, was one of the main reasons my brain would trigger pain. And even now, even though I rarely get pain symptoms, if I ever do, I feel like half the time it's because I'm putting too much pressure on myself. And that's really useful information for me to know. And so I made a list. And this list consists of 8 reasons, 8 messages your brain may be trying to give you by sending that danger signal of pain. Now, they may not all fit for you, but just, follow along and just observe, is this one of the reasons my brain might be sending that danger signal of pain? So, let's get into the list. Number 1, pause and feel your emotions. In our brain, there's a big overlap between, what brain areas are triggered with physical pain and what brain areas are triggered with emotional pain. And so a lot of times underneath the pain, the reason the pain's being sent is because you're feeling deep sadness or hurt, or maybe it's just stress or irritation, or maybe you feel guilty about something. Feeling your emotions underneath the pain it may be why the pain's being sent, is that you need to give yourself space to feel your emotions. Now, I have lots of videos on this that you can go and check out, but next time you're feeling pain, check in. Underneath the pain, are there difficult emotions taking place? Number 2, slow down and take the pressure off. A lot of times, because of the coping mechanisms that people with neuroplastic pain have, such as perfectionism, people-pleasing, self-criticism, placing pressure on ourselves, life can get really serious. We can speed up. Everything can feel urgent. And what happens is the brain just starts to feel in danger. And so a message your brain might be trying to tell you is it needs you desperately to slow down and take that pressure off. This is one of the first things I do if I ever get some pain. And so experiment with this. Practice actually slowing down and taking the pressure off when your pain's coming on, because this might be the reason it's there. Number 3, shift your internal dialogue from one of criticism to one of compassion. One of the biggest triggers that I see that bring on pain for people is self-criticism. Because what self-criticism does is it's going to shift you to a sympathetic fight or flight state or to a dorsal and shutdown state, and it's going to cause the emotional parts of your brain to just light up like a Christmas tree. Self-criticism is just being mean to yourself. It's going to create a sense of danger. And so one of the messages your brain might be trying to tell you by sending pain is that it desperately needs you to have a different stance with yourself, to have one of self-compassion. Now, I have lots of videos on this you can check out, but self-compassion, it gets brushed over easily by people. It can be truly healing in terms of neuroplastic pain or mind-body concerns because it creates safety. Number 4, lean into what feels good in the here and now. What chronic pain and symptoms and trauma will do is it removes us from the present moment. It removes us from the here and now. And so sometimes the solution, what our brain's trying to tell us by sending pain, is it needs us to be present. It needs us to be present and lean into what feels good. Leaning into safe and connected moments, and leaning into even, what we sense with our senses, what we can see, what we can hear, what we can taste or touch. All of this brings us back to the here and now and creates safety. All the research on mindfulness shows this. Our mental well-being improves when we're more in the present moment, when we're in the here and now with what's going on in our life. And so one of the reasons that danger signal might be being sent is it needs you to not be so lost in your head and be more in the present moment. Number 5, set a boundary. When we don't set boundaries and we're lost in people pleasing, we end up doing all these different things in our life that we do not want to do. It shifts us away from our authentic self, from what we authentically want in life. And I'm no exception to this. I used to do this a lot. And what it's going to do is it's going to breed resentment and anger. And then if we're people pleasers, we don't express that. And that is one of the reasons your brain could be sending you that danger signal of pain. And so setting a boundary can be huge. It can be huge for our progress. For myself, there were some boundaries I set with friends. Some of them didn't like it, but it really helped me early on. It was one of the reasons my pain started to decrease when I think back on this. So setting boundaries in our life is vital for our healing. And it could be one of the reasons your pain's being sent sometimes. So set boundaries, people. Number 6, shift from your thinking mind to being with your somatic self. When we have neuroplastic pain, we have brains that are really good at thinking. We're good at having fear thoughts. We're good at being preoccupied, excessively thinking, being obsessed about things. I'm really good at all these things. I'm an expert. And for most of my life, I lived neck up. I didn't dare go into my body, ever. I was just always neck up, lost in my thoughts. My thoughts were just controlling everything in my day. The problem is that most of our thoughts aren't actually facts. They're really not. And so to heal, we need to shift to our body. And one reason your brain could be sending pain is because you're so on high alert and lost in your thinking. And so part of healing is learning to be in our somatic self, to be in our body with how we feel. We live life through our nervous system, our autonomic nervous system, and our somatic self. That's what we live life through. And so we need to connect with that. And you don't always have to connect with pain or symptoms or difficult emotions. It could be even pleasant things in your body that you feel. But practicing actually being in our body and learning to feel safe there can help the emotional parts of our brain feel safe. It can regulate our nervous system. And as a result, it can start to decrease our pain. This is why each day I'm probably doing some yoga or qigong, some type of body-based movement, even like certain breathing activities, because I'm practicing being in my somatic self. Number 7, let go of control and lean in to living life. Control is a big one. I have a few videos on this. I'm a control freak. In the past and sometimes in the present, if I get on high alert, I just start to control every little detail in my life. And we do this with our healing as well. We try to control our pain or our symptoms or how our mind-body journey is going to go. But we need to let go of control. Your brain probably is telling you by sending pain sometimes that it needs you to decrease the amount of control you're putting on yourself. Control, as Nicole Sachs talks about, is just fear and fancy clothing. That's it. We make it all fancy, but control is just fear. And so again, if pain's a danger signal and you're living life through a lens of fear, lens of danger by just controlling everything, it's going to keep producing pain. And so even for myself recently, I've been trying each day to control one thing less. It could be small stuff in my workday, small stuff in what I eat for dinner. I'm just slowly edging my way out of controlling everything because that's decreasing fear. So play around with this because we can't actually lean into living life and enjoying it with excessive control. Those things don't go hand in hand. So letting go of control and leaning into living life is what your brain might be trying to tell you intensely by sending pain. And finally, number 8, co-regulate with someone. Co-regulation is a big piece of polyvagal theory. This is what our nervous system needs. This is what our nervous system wants to do. Our nervous system, your nervous system, my nervous system, we're not all in isolation. Even as you're watching this video, I'm hoping that our nervous systems are co-regulating. You're watching me talk, you're watching me share in this way, and our nervous systems are doing something together. And we're social beings. We're meant to be socially connected. But what chronic pain and symptoms do is it starts to isolate us. I remember I spent months in my basement barely seeing anyone when I was in pain. But our nervous system wants to co-regulate. This is one of the ways it naturally regulates, is it does it in conjunction with other people's nervous systems. And so your brain might be telling you by sending pain that it needs you to connect. It needs you to co-regulate. I do this with my kids all the time, whether we're throwing a ball back and forth, or we're having dance parties, or I'm cuddling with my partner Anne. All these different ways, they're small ways that I'm co-regulating with someone else. And this could be the reason your pain's being sent. So in your life, I know it can be hard, if we're in isolation from people, but make an effort to just try and co-regulate in small ways with the people around you. So I hope this list of 8 messages your brain's trying to give you by sending the danger signal of pain was helpful. Play around with this. Part of our healing is we need to explore. We need to explore changing things and then seeing over time what our pain does. By doing this, we start to get a sense of what our triggers are, what's triggering our pain. So please put your questions or comments down below, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all next time. Happy healing.